Hello everyone, welcome to this video where we are going to balance an existing Pro Tools session. The session we're going to work with comes from a raw multi-track excerpt from Little Chicago's Finest. It's a track called My Own. This material is provided for educational purposes. The raw stems can be found in the Cambridge Multi-Track Music Library, and I'll put a link in the video. All right, let's get to work. So once you have the Pro Tools project folder downloaded onto your drive, you're going to click to open the .ptx session file. That would be .ptx here. You may need to go to your Setup menu and click on Playback Engine to make sure that your audio interface is selected in the device area of this window. So in my case, it's the Studio Live 24R. Now remember that you should mix always with high quality headphones or studio monitors. Never mix through your laptop speakers. What we're going to want to do first is sort of preview what's in this session that was delivered to us. I'm going to go to the edge of this here and just make a little more space for these side windows so you can see them. So in this group pane, I'm going to click on this word all, and you'll see it gets highlighted in blue. You can see, some colors change up here. This is like the group indicators. That is a group that represents everything in the session. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to now click on any of these faders since they're all selected in this group. And I'm just going to bring everything down to negative 15 dB, just to make sure that it's not going to be loud when we play. Then don't forget to deselect the all group over here just by clicking on it. The blue light or the blue highlight goes away. Before doing anything else, don't forget to deselect that. All right, so I want to make sure that I have a transport in my workspace here in the mix window. If you don't have one visible, you could always go to the window menu and just make sure that transport is selected or checked. I'll make sure that we're at the start of the track by clicking this return to 0 button here on the transport. That will bring us to the beginning of the track, just to be safe. And I'm going to hit play. Oh, let me just I'm going to change this. You probably don't see the loop. We'll get to that later, possibly. I'm going to hit play to just kind of preview this track. And actually, as it's going, actually, I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to click on the all, and I'm going to hit mute. So now everything is muted. And then I'm going to deselect all again. So what I'm going to do is unmute each track as we go to preview what each track is and make sure that the name of the track matches what we're hearing. So here we go. It's a kick. Hi-hat. Clap, that's a stereo track here. Looks like it is a bass. Piano, also stereo. Another piano track. A synth track, looks like it's an audio track, not a MIDI track. That's sort of like a double version of that, but MIDI, okay. Another synth. Sustained. Oh, let me just restart that. Kind of ran out here. Okay, that's a pad, nice sustained sounds.
Remember all the times that I ran
Got
my
some
mouth.
lead
Told that girl
voice.
I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I
Doubled
really
version of
started
that.
to figure it out.
Okay. And looks like these guys don't come in at first. The rest of the vocals, let me just kind of put these on, see what they are when they come in.
Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know
Back
you
and
ain't gonna
forth
take
between
none
all
from
these
me.
other vocals.
Cause I'm good on my own. Cause all them things you done to me have only made me strong.
That looks good.
This life
Looks like everything is right. Let's create a master fader from the track menu. I'm going to click on the track that I want the master track to come after, so I guess I'll do it after this click track, so it's at the end of everything. And to do that, I'm going to go to the track menu and then go down to new. And the track, a master fader or a master track has to be stereo, or you'll find it won't work properly. So make sure you change that to stereo. Now from this drop down menu, the track type drop down menu, you're going to find master fader and leave the samples alone, and you could leave it, I always leave it defaulted to master, but you can name it something else that makes sense to you. But master is good for me. Create. And it dropped in right after the click track because the click track was selected. You should always work with a master fader, so once you get the balance right between the individual tracks, you can control the overall volume of your mix with one fader. Also later, you may put some processing plugins on the master track to enhance the final mix and get the volume to professional levels. Okay, so now I'm going to go and hit all again. And now I'm going to unmute everything all at once because the all group is highlighted. Okay, now everything is unmuted. And I'm going to now bring all the faders totally down to the bottom. Okay, so there'll be no sound at all if I were to play. My mission here is I'm going to gradually bring up things. I'll start with the drum tracks, and I'm going to keep an eye on this master level now that I have this master track. I have the stereo meters here for the master fader, so I'm going to keep an eye on those and make sure that things are not really peaking above negative 10 dB for now. So let's start over here with the kick. I'm going to hit play. And I'm going to bring in this kick until the master is peaking around negative 10. Oops, one thing I forgot to do was deselect all. Okay, now I can just control one thing. And I'm going to bring this up. Oh, you know what I did too is when I had all selected before, I somehow brought the master. I'm going to keep the master at 0 where it's not boosting or cutting the signal coming into it. It's just unity. And I'm going to bring this fader up until, oh, the track's over. Restart that. Bring this fader up until I see that this little green line that kind of stays behind, that's the peak level. I'm going to try to get that to 10 here, negative 10. All right. Oops, see, it's a little high for what I want. All right, there it is. So it's peaking right there around negative 10. That's good. Now I'm going to start that track over and blend in the clap. I want to hear it, but I don't really want it to increase my peak level. That sounds good. Okay, I'm noticing that the clap, you can see this stereo meter here. You can see that it has a little bit more energy. See these two meters, like one is for the left speaker and the other one's for the right speaker. You can see that the clap has a little more energy in the right. So what I'm going to do, just to kind of enhance that stereo effect, let me just restart this, is I'm going to pan the hi-hat over a little bit to the left because this is having a little more energy in the right. So I'll enhance the stereo by panning the hi-hat to the left. Let's see what that sounds like as I fade it in. Watching this meter, I want to hear it pretty well. Okay, good. And the peaking is still about the same. All right, so that's a pretty good setup for the drums. Next, I'm going to bring in the bass. I want it to be audible and sit at a close level with the kick, but I still don't want the master level to peak above negative 10 dB. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a group just for the kick and bass by going to this drop-down menu in the groups window. I'm going to click on New Group and get this dialog box. I'm going to call the group, I'm going to rename it, call it Kick and Bass. And I'm going to add in, by selecting different instruments here, I'm going to add in the kick, make sure it's selected. I'm going to hit Add. Oh wait, hold on, I'm going to remove the master from this. I don't know why the master's in there. So I mean, there was something currently in the group which I wanted to remove. So make sure there's nothing over here at first. Click on Kick and add it to the group. And I notice it disappears from the list. And I'm going to go down to the bass and add that as well. So now I have a group named Kick and Bass. There's where it is. And I hit OK. And watch this menu over here. Watch this window. Okay, so now I have a kick and bass group that I can select and deselect. Right now it's selected. I have the all group and the kick and bass group. Now that I have that, I'm going to solo the kick and I'm going to note where the master meter is peaking. It should still be at negative 10 dB, but let's see. Yeah, very good. Now I'll solo the bass 2 and bring it up until it sounds good. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Now I can clearly see that the master meter here, the master level, is peaking at a little higher than negative 10, but I think I can hear this bass well and it's still the attack of the kick, so for now that's good. So now with the master meter peaking a little higher but with the bass and the kick sounding good, I want to get the master peak level back down to where it was before, or just make sure it's down a bit. But I want to maintain the balance that I achieved between these two tracks. So I'll select the kick and bass group and I will play the track and bring them down as a group until this is back down to the negative 10 here. Now I'll deselect the kick and bass group and I'll unsolo these two tracks. Now I'll double check to make sure that the master level is peaking at negative 10 dB while all these drum tracks are raised, including the bass. Let's see. Pretty good. So now that I got a good balance between the drum sounds and the bass, the rhythm section, sort of the foundation rhythm section, I'm going to move over to the featured instrument here, the vocals. And I'm going to start with getting the lead part balanced above the drum and bass. So I'm going to start this from the top, and I'm going to fade in these vocals. I recall that these two came in before the others, so I guess we'll start there.
Remember all the times that I ran my mouth, told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out, really thought I was living, now I'm living without her. Now I feel like the greatest on the earth, and I knew the end was coming, my calendar.
Let me try that again. Let me just check that. I noticed that now it's peaking a little bit higher, negative 8 or so, and I'm going to just balance this double lead vocal.
know the time and the time is now. There was time for me and her, but that time ran out. Remember all the times that I ran my mouth. Told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out. Really thought I was living, now I'm living without her. Now
All right, that's pretty good. So it seems like the lead vocal and the lead vocal doubled track sound above them instrumental music at about 0-ish on their faders. And with them included, the master peak level is a little higher, around -8 dB. That's not bad because we still have plenty of headroom to work with in the master and in the individual tracks for later things. One thing I'd like to do, and then I can always change this later, but for now, I'm going to pan the doubled voice a little bit to the right. There was a little bit more energy in the left side, I noticed over here, so I'm going to just kind of give a little bit to the right, plus it will flesh out those vocals. Let's check that out.
I know the time and the time is now. There was time for me and her, but that time ran out. Remember all the times that I ran my mouth. Told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out. Really thought I was living, now I'm living without her. Now I feel like the greatest on the earth. And I knew the end was coming, my calendar.
All right, good. All right, so now I got to get out of this mix window and go to the edit window to see what's going on with the rest of these vocal tracks, or just kind of see where they come in. So I'm going to hit Command equals, and that will open up the edit window. I think I'm going to go down here as well and use this plus sign to expand the tracks horizontally, stretch them out so I can see better what's going on. Plus, plus, okay, good. And I'm going to maybe grab this here, scroll down to where all the vocals are. All right. Oh, yeah, there's another thing here. So I can see the MIDI events really well, but it looks like the audio, it just appears to be sort of small. And that just, if that happens to you, it may not be because the signal of the audio track is too quiet, or but it might just be that you have to zoom in to your waveforms, and this little button right here is a way to zoom in. If you click on the upper part of it, it's not changing the amplitude, it's just zooming into the waveform. So be careful, it is confusing. I sometimes get confused with this, when I'm working. I'm like, oh, what's going on? But it's just zooming into the waveforms so you can see them better. And if you click the bottom half, it zooms out of the waveforms. So in this case, I couldn't really see them, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I guess that's good. Okay. Now I could see that, here's the two vocal tracks that we just balanced. It looks like the rest of the vocals come in about the second half of this excerpt. So I'm just going to make sure I'm on my selector tool here, and I'm just going to click somewhere before all these come in. Now when I hit play, the track will start from that spot. So now I can hit Command equals and go back to my mix window, and I'm going to start just balancing in the rest of these vocal tracks.
Calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, just know you ain't gonna take none from me.
Okay, yeah, it's like a chorus, and there's singing.
All them things you done to me.
So I'm going to just pan this over a little bit to match.
It's like they gave just one for me.
Looks like this is still about the same. That's good. All right, let me hit play again. I'm going to start bringing in these other ones. This next group here.
Calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone.
All right, the same thing.
Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own. 'Cause all them things you done to me have only made me strong. This life they gave just one for me, so I'm gonna live it long.
Great, let's see what's going on with these last two.
Calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't
that's just
gonna
like a
take
little
none from
sustain
me,
note, almost like a
'cause
harmony.
I'm good on my own.
I'm gonna keep
'Cause
that
all them
under
things
it.
you done to me have only made me strong. It's like
that's a
they
little
gave just
shout
one
back.
for me, so I'm gonna
keep
live
that
it
low,
long.
Oh, let's one more time. One more pass.
Calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause 'cause I'm good on my own. 'Cause all them things you done done.
Okay, that's a good rough mix between the vocals and the foundation of the instrument track, which is the drums and the bass. Okay, now it's time to see how we can get the synths and the piano in this mix. We have a pretty good balance, as I said, between the foundation and the vocals, so we want to just fade in the other elements so they are heard and add texture and interest, but not overpower the vocals. I'll start by fading in the piano, so I'm going to go back to the 0 point here. And let's see, piano 1, let's check this out.
I know the time and the time is now. There was time for me and her, but that time ran out. Remember all the times that I ran my mouth. Told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out. Really thought I was living, now I'm living without her. Now I feel like the greatest on the earth. And I knew the end was coming, my calendar.
Yeah, so the piano 1 is a little more melodic, and piano 2 is a little more just a driving rhythm. So both of them will likely just counter the rhythm of the foundation drums and bass. But since piano 1 is a little more melodic, I'm going to just bring it up a little higher than the piano 2, which is just sort of a driving rhythm that just adds some energy. Okay, so let's check out the pad and the synth 2. Looks like they start right at the top, or looked like it, so let's fade them in.
I know the time and the time is now. There was time for me and her, but that time ran out. Remember all the times that I ran my mouth. Told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out. Really thought I was living, now I'm living without her.
That's good. I think that synth 2 sits, pretty much at the same level as the piano 1. It's sort of melodic too, or it's kind of between being a repetitive rhythm and a melody. Let's listen for the pad.
I know the time and the time is now. There was time for me and her, but that time ran out. Remember all the times that I ran my mouth. Told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out. Really thought I was living, now I'm living without her. Now I feel like the greatest on the earth. And I knew the end was coming, my calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own.
That's good. I think the pad should just sit a little bit above the synth 2. That's what I'm feeling at the moment. These things will, like these initial decisions could change later when there's more processing going on and, other effects and things added. But I'm going to leave it there for now. Okay, I'm going to go back to the the edit window, Command equals, and I'm going to just check out where those other synths come in, the synth 1 tracks start, and it looks like they kind of, sort of start in the same area that the other chorus singing vocals started, so that makes sense. I'm just going to make sure I got my select tool here, and I'm going to click somewhere behind there. Now I'm going to go Command equals, go back to my mix window, and I'm going to work on these two.
My calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own.
Okay, so the synth 1 is made up of a couple things here. So there's an audio track. So this is not a MIDI track. It's actually an audio clip. If I go back to the other window, you can see how those are waveforms. But the synth 1 MIDI is sort of a duplication, or it's the idea doubled as a MIDI version. So this is MIDI information, or these are MIDI events. And since synth 1 is perhaps the most catchy hook-like synth part that we've heard so far, I'm going to bring it up as far as I can without interfering or masking the vocals. And, the fact that synth 1 MIDI is a doubled version of the last track, but it's on a virtual instrument track and it's played by an Expand 2 plugin preset. I just want that to just widen the audio track synth sound, but not be, heard necessarily, but just fatten the original audio track. So I'm going to fade in the Synth 1 MIDI until I can just hear it and then back it off a little bit. All right, so let me give this a shot here. So hopefully this is still queued up. Let me just do this again. I want to bring these guys down.
It's coming my calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own. 'Cause all them things you done to me have only made me strong. It's like they gave just one for me, so I'm gonna live it long.
All right. So that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to listen to the whole thing.
I know the time and the time is now. There was time for me and her, but that time ran out. Remember all the times that I ran my mouth. Told that girl I'm gonna make it and she laughed like how. Then I really started to figure it out. Really thought I was living, now I'm living without her. Now I feel like the greatest on the earth, and I knew the end was coming, my calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own. 'Cause all them things you done to me have only made me strong. It's like they gave just one for me, so I'm gonna live it long.
Not bad. I can hear everything. The master peak is still hitting around, negative 8 dB. That means there's still more headroom for effects processing later, and the master fader track, or master bus as you can call it, is not clipping. Also, none of the individual tracks are clipping. After listening to it, the only thing that I heard that I might want to do is turn the shoutback track, that voice chorus 4, voice CH4 one, just up a little bit. Maybe later some compression and EQ and other kinds of processing would get that to be more audible, even though the volume is low. But I think for now I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to turn that up a little bit while we listen to it. Oh, actually, hold on. I'm going to get to the second half because that's when it comes in. Click somewhere in the second half. Go back to the other window and...
It's coming my calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own. 'Cause all them things you done to me have only...
And by the way, on this other listen, I think I might want to just bring both of these guys down just a little tiny bit. Okay, just one more time.
It's coming my calendar. Whenever you decide to run from me, make sure you far gone. Just know you ain't gonna take none from me, 'cause I'm good on my own.
All right, it's a good rough balance. All right, so now we have to save our work, and you could do this a lot more frequently than I have done in this video. But at any time after you do things, you should go to the File menu, hit Save, or Command S. Now it's saved, and now we just have to bounce our mix, a rough mix here, to an MP3 so we can listen back, outside of Pro Tools. We can listen, on our phone, in our car, whatever. So to do that, we go to the File menu, we go to Bounce Mix, and here we can choose what file type we want to bounce it to, and also we can name it here. So Bounce Demo. Maybe I'll just call it Rough Mix. Probably should put the date to 2024, and I'm going to change the file type to an MP3, so you can bounce it as a WAV file, an AIFF, an MP3. These are the three you're going to mostly be working with. In this case, I don't need it to be a full quality. I just want it to be an MP3. And by the way, for a project, you will want it to have an MP3 to upload to the Blackboard. Okay, so MP3. Now these other settings, I'm going to leave it as interleaved and sample rate 48. That's fine. Down here, be cautious of what's going on in the location thing. Like right now, I don't know exactly why it's set to go to my desktop, and I don't want that. I'm going to click on Session Folder, and that's what I suggest you do. So when you bounce your files, they're going to go inside your Pro Tools Session folder into a subfolder that's named Bounce Files. So that's where this will go now, and I'll just show you that in a second. So I'm going to hit Bounce. And since I chose MP3, it allows me to enter metadata, which is, artist name, album, and just other comments and things like that. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment, but sometimes that's very important. Okay, that's bounced. And now I did save, but just in case, I'll save it again. I'll go ahead and quit Pro Tools. So here's the Pro Tools Balance Demo Session folder. And you'll see there's a number of folders. Here's the audio files that are used in the track. But what I just did was I bounced that mix to this bounce files subfolder within the Pro Tools session folder. So if I click on this, maybe Apple Music will open it and I can just hear it. But I won't do that now. All right, well, that's it for this demo, and I hope that's helpful and gives you some idea of how you could get started balancing a rough mix. Just remember, there's not one way to go about this. I just offered some suggestions. The most important thing is that nothing is clipping. You're being very mindful of the levels of your individual tracks and the levels of your master fader. And also that, things are audible, and the important things, like in this case lead vocals or vocals, are not being masked by other elements. So, until next time, enjoy.